Steyer, and I'm back again today with another science experiment. Our science experiment today is really fun. We are going to make a rainbow in this cup using all of these different liquids. Then we are going to talk about how we can make this rainbow in the cup, and at the end we're going to make a prediction about what happens when we put some things into our rainbow. Let's just get started. So what I have here, I have honey, corn syrup, dish detergent. I have water that I put some green food coloring in so that we could see it a little better. I have some vegetable oil, I have some rubbing alcohol, and some oil from outside. So I have all different liquids. Some of them are different colors, some of them were clear. So I put some food coloring into the rubbing alcohol and into the water. So normally when I'm drinking water, it does not look like this, does it? No, unless our leprechaun turns it green. Normally our water looks more like this when we drink it. But I put some food coloring in it so that we can see it in our rainbow. And the rubbing alcohol is clear. But I put some red food coloring in it. Now it looks red like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very slowly pour the different liquids into the cup. And we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to start with the honey. So this is honey. It's delicious. Okay, so do you see the bottom of the cup has some honey in it? Now I'm going to add some cornstarch and see what happens. I'm going to pour it slowly. And we might, oh boy, look at that big clump. We might have to wait a couple minutes at the end and sort of let our liquids settle in. So you can see a little bit already that the honey is still at the bottom. It's brown at the bottom, but the cornstarch is settling into the top. It looks clear on the top. But it is going to need a couple minutes. We're going to let it settle before we predict with our next items. Now I am going to add some detergent. I am going to go very slowly with the detergent. Let's see what happens. Ooh, it's going into the cornstarch. So we're going to have to let that settle for a little bit at the end, but you can already see that it's sort of stacking on top, isn't it? So I can see the honey at the bottom, and then the cornstarch in the middle, and the detergent at the top. Now, I have some water next. Remember, I poured this water into this little cup. But it doesn't look the same, does it? No, I put some food coloring into it just so we could see it better and it would look pretty in our rainbow. So I am going to try to use this to get the water in. Let's see if I can do it. So I'm putting the water. So first it was honey. Then it was cornstarch and dish soap, and now we're putting the water. Okay. Wow. Let's take a look so far. Isn't it beautiful? I can see the honey and the cornstarch, the dish soap, and the water. Next, we're going to add some vegetable oil. I am going to try to do the same thing with, this is a turkey baster, and see if I can put it on the side, because I read that it works a little bit better if it goes in the sides. This definitely will need to settle a little bit, but let's see. I can see it's already settling. Do you see how it's sitting right on top of the green water? Let's see, the next one, remember, was the rubbing alcohol. It was clear in the bottle, so I put some red food coloring in just to make it more exciting. Let's see, I'm going to try this again. That on and see what happens. When we get it all in there, we're going to talk about why you think it can stack right on top of each other. Okay, there's the red rubbing alcohol. It mixed a little bit in. We'll let it settle and see what happens. And the last thing we're going to put on top is the oil from the lamp. Alrighty. Okay, I can see some of the layers. Let's talk for a minute about why we can see all these layers of our rainbow. Look at our rainbow. Isn't it beautiful? I can see brown and then white. I see blue and then green. These get a little mixed up. They're going to settle a little bit more as we talk about it. But I wonder why they're not all mixing together. That's a tricky question. I'm going to tell you a big word. We learned the big word predict when we started talking about science. Do you remember? We said that when you predict, which we're going to do in a minute, you think and then you guess. We predict a lot in science when we do science. We also predict a lot during reading, which we're going to do tomorrow. But another science word that's a big word is the word density. It's a big kid word. And pretty much what it means is how much stuff is crammed into something. So when I pick up the honey, it's really thick. So even when I pour it, let me show you, it comes out really slowly because it's very thick and very dense. It's a very dense liquid. It comes out slow. I have to squeeze it because it's very thick and very dense. Whereas the water is lighter. It's not as dense, it's less dense. And it comes out quickly because it's not thick. It's less dense. So that's just a big fancy word that you might hear. And now you know a little bit about that the things on the bottom are more dense. They're thicker and more stuff is crammed together. Whereas the liquids on the top are less dense. They're lighter. And so they won't go into the more dense liquids because there's not as much stuff crammed together. So that's what makes us be able to make our beautiful rainbow in our cup. So let's look one more time at the colors, because what we're going to do next is we're going to drop a few things into the cup to see if they go to the bottom, they sink to the bottom, or if they float at the top, just like we did when we started learning about predictions. And then we're going to see if, now that we know a little bit about density, and we can think about what we did when we did floating and sinking before, see if we can predict what will happen with things in our rainbow. So, but I wanted to look one more time, sorry, at the colors. So here's a little brown and some white. I see some blue and some green. This almost looks like purple now, doesn't it? And then there's a yellowish and a little red, and then a clear color. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, so I have 3 things here that we're going to put into our rainbow, and you're going to get to predict if they're going to sink to the bottom because they're more dense, or if they're going to float to the top because they're less dense. So I have a bolt, it's metal, and I have a tomato, it's a little cherry tomato, and I have a ping pong ball. So let's start with the bolt. Do you predict? Remember, so what we need to do when we predict is think and then make a guess. So what we're going to do is predict. We're going to think about the bolt. It's pretty heavy. It's made out of metal. I use it when I put a furniture together or something. So it's pretty sturdy. When I put this into my rainbow, do you think it's going to sink to the bottom, or is it going to float at the top? What do you predict? Take a second and think about what we know. And now predict. What do you think? What do you predict? I like how you're thinking. Should we put it in the rainbow and find out? Okay, I'm gonna get the rainbow really close and I'm gonna drop it in. It went to the bottom. It must be very dense. It sank the whole way to the bottom through all of those different liquids. It went right through the oil and the rubbing alcohol. It went through the vegetable oil, the water, the dish soap, the corn syrup, even the very dense honey. The bolt is very dense, and it went to the bottom of our rainbow. Let's do the ping pong ball next. What do we know about a ping pong ball? Feels pretty light. I'll tell you a secret about something I know about a ping pong ball. If I open it up, there's nothing in the middle of it. It's hollow. It's empty inside of it. So boy, what does that say about how much stuff is crammed into a ping pong ball? Okay, so now I can think about what happened with the bolt. What we know about the ping pong ball, floating and sinking. Boy, there's a lot to think about when we predict about the ping pong ball. What do you predict when I put it in the rainbow? Good thinking. Let's give it a try. Are you ready? Let me move it nice and close so you can see it. There's our bolt. What did it do? It floated at the top. That tells me it's less dense than the bolt, which is very dense. So the ping pong ball floated at the top, but the bolt sank to the bottom. We're going to try one more. This is a tomato. So what do you know about a tomato? Did you ever cut open a tomato or see the inside of a tomato? Let me think what I know about a tomato. Well, I don't think it's heavy enough to use to put together furniture like the bolt, so it's probably not that dense. But the ping pong ball doesn't have anything in the middle of it. Does the tomato? It does. There's like juice and fruit in the middle of a tomato. So the tomato might be more dense than the ping pong ball, but not quite as dense as the bolt. So what do you predict, thinking about all those things, will happen when you put the tomato into the rainbow? Maybe. Let's find out. I'm gonna put it in. Oh my, isn't that interesting? Do you see it? It's right over here. So, the tomato was not as dense as the bolt, but it was more dense than the ping pong ball. So, it went right to the blue area of our rainbow. So, it must be just a little more dense than these liquids, but not quite as dense as these liquids. It's right in the middle. That's so silly. Friends, it was super fun talking about density with you and making our beautiful rainbow. I really had a lot of fun spending time with you today. Thank you for thinking so hard, and you're doing such a great job predicting. I hope you come back tomorrow when we'll do another science experiment. I miss you so much, and I'll see you real soon.